Hi there, this is John with the channel Faith and Practice, and this is part two of a discussion that I'm having concerning the existence of God. And what I said in the first session is that I know that I'm intentionally keeping this really very, very simple and very general. At this point, I'm really not talking about the God of the Bible. I will in later sessions talk about why I believe the Bible to be true and also the validity of the gospel. However, at this point, I'm talking about simply the existence of God, and I speak of God in the most general terms as possible. And as I mentioned, I'm intentionally keeping it very simple, simple enough for a child to grasp it. Because as I've mentioned, if indeed there is a God, as I believe there is, and if he is knowable, then I believe that he is to be knowable regardless of what kind of intellectual horsepower a person has. In fact, there are people I know that are mentally retarded, that just love God. They love God. But you know what? If God could only be known by intellectuals, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if they would qualify, so to speak. Okay, so it's because of that that I first started with just the fact that I believe that God is an axiomatic truth. What I mean by an axiomatic truth, by the way, is this: there are certain things that just go without saying. Okay, for example, parallel lines never cross. Parallel lines never cross. Why? Because if they were to cross, they would cease to be parallel. Okay. The same, you don't have to establish it, it just is. Same thing with the fact that we are here, the fact that you're here. You are the strongest argument that I could marshal in favor of the existence of a divine being, a divine creator. Because I'll let you know, I think pretty highly of you. Okay? I think that you're you're capable of great things. Okay? And of course, that was last session. Now, this is the second thing. I said I'd be keeping my arguments to two. And this is the second thing. And again, this is of utmost simplicity. And that is I believe that inside all of us, this is the subjective. That's more objective. This is subjective. Okay? You know, I think it's unfortunate at times that in our day, we have elevated science and objective things to such a level that there are some people saying that that's the only way to know truth. And I would argue differently. I think that there's a different way. Of course, that's not to negate the objective. Okay, what I'm saying does not uh, belittle the objective, but rather complements it. That is, I believe that there are a number of things in life today that we know in our hearts, that we just know to be true. For example, if indeed you are an atheist, there are certain things that you know to be true in your heart where there's really nothing objective to to give you that information. For example, the idea, okay, the idea that it's just wrong to just be rude to people and lie to people and treat people like garbage, okay? There's nothing outside objectively, and you can correct me if I'm mistaken here, but there's no outside rule, okay? There's no God telling you that that's wrong. No, that's just kind of something inside of us, okay? Now, similarly, I believe that inside the heart of every person, that there's the reality and the truth of God. Now, I realize, and I'm very aware that that reality is clouded by a lot of unfortunate things. It's clouded by humanity and oppression or injustices. You see, a lot of times people fail to see that they disbelieve in God because of those people who claim to believe in Him and what people do in his name. And I think it's so unfortunate. If you're an atheist, for example, wouldn't you think it would be an unfortunate thing if someone said, you know what, I believe that atheism is wrong because all atheists are just jerks. They're rude. They're people you really wouldn't want to be around. Okay, no, that doesn't fly. However, what I would say is this. I realize that a lot of what happens in the name of God and a lot of religion, there's a lot of pomp and there's just a lot of noise, and there's a lot of noise in the world. There's a lot of racket going on around us. Whether it be the constant bombardment of media and the negativity going on. And what I'm saying is this: if you're a person that desires to know the truth, if you want to know if there's a God, I do believe that He can and will and even desires to make Himself known to you. It's a belief that I have. It's a subjective thing, and please realize I know this is entirely subjective. Okay, but what I'm saying is this. Of course, there are some people that will refuse to believe, even if God were to show up. They're like, I'm not going to acknowledge that I have been created. Okay, I'm not going to acknowledge God. There are people who are just rabid against that knowledge. And I guess there's nothing for us to talk about. Okay, but what I would say is to the people who are simply open. Okay, if you're a person who's just simply open to, okay, well, maybe there is a God. Maybe if you're agnostic, or maybe there is a God. Here's what I would invite you to do. I would invite you and encourage you to simply remove yourselves from all of the noise of the world and get off at get away into a quiet place where there's no racket going on, and just not pay attention to any of the kinds of the noise of religion and all that pomp and and people and humanity, and simply open your heart and ask God to reveal Himself to you. You know, it's a subjective thing, but it's that one subjective thing. That's why. That's why it is that no one, it is impossible. It is impossible for a person to rebuttal or refute my faith. It cannot be done. It is outside of the realm of possibility. The reason why is because I have heard Him speak. He called my name. And I get into that a little bit in my post, Proof for Christianity. But in short, you know, I was a nickel and dime street punk kid sleeping in parks, eating out of garbage cans. I was washed up. I was a throwaway kid. I was a throwaway teenager. And I had gotten sober. I was not on drugs when this happened. I'd actually been clean for 10 months. When God actually spoke to me, He showed me a vision of all my life. And by the way, I wasn't raised in a Christian home. No one told me about, you know, God growing up. I was raised by drug addicts and alcoholics. My whole family was. But it was, you know, God simply revealed Himself to me. He spoke in words. He said, John, stop it, concerning the life that I was living. He did that certainly not because of who I am. He did that because of His greatness, because of who He is. If you're open to the belief of God, if that natural doesn't, if you can't swallow that, that's okay. I understand that. But can you turn away from humanity and everything, all the noise of the world, and simply get away into a quiet place and open your heart to Him? Then He will do what nobody else can do. And that is reveal Himself to you. And then you'll know for sure. If you're really a pursuer of truth, if you really desire to know truth and pursue truth, give that a shot. And please, feel free to interact with me. Now what I'm going to do next session, okay, if indeed there's a God, how do we know? You know, of course, there's the God of Islam, there's people who believe in many gods, many deities. That doesn't prove Christianity. I didn't say it did. Well, you know what? I want to encourage you to explore this with me. I'll share my thoughts with you. You can accept them or reject them, or argue with me, challenge me. That's okay. That's okay. I encourage that. I invite that. Like again, as long as you're civil, right, and not too rambunctious. Well, with that, I hope to continue this journey together. God bless you.